Okay. Dave Barry, Vampire Story, Chapter 3, which I believe is the final chapter. It's called Peril. I stumbled through the woods, tripping with clumsy endearingness over the logs that lay everywhere, like the corpses of dead trees knocked down by gravity. It was getting dark, and I knew that Phil would be out looking for me with his tawny eyes nestling the chiseled perfection of his face. Stuart would also be looking for me in his lanky way with his bulging, rippling muscles or giant snout, depending on which form he was in. I knew that if Phil and Stuart ran into each other, they would probably get into a supernatural high-speed fight, and one or both of them could be badly injured or even killed, and it would be my fault because they were both so crazy mad in love with me. I felt guilt gnawing at the pit of my stomach from within like a family of angry gastrointestinal ferrets. I wished I could die. I wished that a big electrical thing of lightning would come shooting down from the sky and kill me, or at least that an editor would cut out some of these interminable monologues about my feelings. But I knew that could never happen, as it would be a violation of my contract. So I continued to stumble endearingly forward as total darkness fell over the woods, while a full moon rose in the sky to provide visibility for the climatic action sequence. I came to a clearing completely surrounded on all sides by the dark, forbidding woods. I walked into the clearing as the cold wind blew my hair around in a big trademark mess, though fortunately I don't care about hair or makeup, because the last thing I need to do is make myself even more irresistible. With a feeling of even greater foreboding than usual, I kept walking forward, putting one leg in front of the other in an alternating sequence. Suddenly I saw movement at the far edge of the clearing. I stopped and stared. A chill slithered up my spine like an ascending iguana wearing tiny booties made from pieces of fudgesicle, as I saw the terrifying shadowy figure step menacingly into the clearing. With a shock of recognition, I recognized who it was. Barbara Walters. No, sorry, there I go with my trademark endearing nearsightedness. As the shadowy figure drew nearer, I realized with a second shock of recognition that although she wore her hair the same way Barbara Walters does, it was actually somebody far more dangerous. Somebody who had been subtly foreshadowed in previous chapters. Denise. So, she hissed, gliding vengefully forward as if on gliders. I took a step back and stumbled over something. I screamed in horror as I realized it was a human thigh, part of which had only days ago been a living, breathing hiker who, if he'd been male and cute and had met me, would probably have wanted to marry me. But now that was never to be, I reflected sorrowfully as I fell backward and landed on my back. I looked up to see Denise standing over me, her vampire eyes glowing with redness like two hot, eyeball-sized coals. Please, I pleaded. So, she hissed again, and in that instant I realized she was not big on dialogue. She bared her teeth, revealing her needle-like fangs, which glinted brightly in the moonlight, like some kind of sharp, highly reflective things used in a simile. I squinched my eyes shut, preparing myself to be killed in a horrible manner, which I knew I deserved after causing so much pain because of my uncontrollable irresistibility. The dramatic tension mounted to a fever pitch as I waited to feel Denise's teeth plunge vengefully into my neck and suck my blood out like a giant supernatural mosquito. I wondered how much it would hurt and how long it would last before I was dead, and who, if anybody, would take over as narrator. And just then it happened, a dramatic turn of events so unexpected and shocking that nobody could have predicted it in a million years without having read the previous books. I heard a snarling sound and opened my eyes to see that Denise, instead of attacking me, was fighting for her life. And the person she was fighting against, the person who, against all odds, had appeared at the last possible second to rescue me was Barbara Walters. No, I'm leavening the narrative with humor. It was really Phil. In the moonlight, he looked even more perfectly tawny-eyed and chiseled and gorgeous than ever. I still could not believe, as I watched him bite off Denise's right ear and with characteristic godlike gracefulness spit it into the woods, that he found me, so attractive. I sighed, anticipating the moment when he was finished assembling Denise so I could finally kiss his perfectly sculpted lips despite the risk of frostbite. But my fantasy was interrupted when his eyes flashed me in an alarmed look of tawny omniscience. "Run away!" he commanded. "Why?" I questioned. "They're coming!" he explained. "Who's coming?" I prompted. "They are!" he elaborated as he pointed toward the edge of the clearing with Denise's left arm. I looked in that direction and my mouth gaped open as I saw them emerging from the woods. The Gambinis. They were a family of ancient and powerful vampires whom I had encountered in the previous book. They controlled all the vampire activity in the world, as well as a large sector of the waste management industry. It goes without saying that they're all really good-looking and obsessed with me. "What do they want?" I inquired. Phil scratched his tousled hair with Denise's hand. Apparently, they want to be part of the climactic action sequence, he postulated, adding, and it appears there's going to be a lot of action. Using Denise's head, he nodded toward the opposite side of the clearing. My jaw dropped as I saw an enormous pack of werewolves, including Stuart, who gave me a look of desperate werewolf longing before he turned away and resumed forlornly licking his private parts. As I watched, saddened and guilt-ridden because of the pain I had inflicted on him by being so attractive without making any conscious effort, I saw more shapes emerge from his third side of the clearing. This time it was Denise's jaw that dropped as it fell from Phil's hand when he saw who it was. His vampire family, Grover, Buck, Scooter, Eldridge, Dee Dee, Trixie, and Skeeter. Despite the obvious seriousness of the situation, there was no mistaking how good-looking they all were. Grover nodded to Phil with a special code vampire nod, indicating something ominous was about to happen. Stay here, asserted Phil, flinging aside what I think was Denise's thorax. Stay perfectly still. Whatever you do, don't draw any attention to yourself. I wanted to shout something that would stop Phil, such as, "Stop, Phil!" But he had already become a blur of speed, like a really chiseled, supernatural road runner, as he raced towards the middle of the clearing, where an incredible battle had erupted between the werewolves and various attractive sets of vampires. There were snarls and roars and hideous supernatural screams as the fighting raged at fantastic speeds all around me. It was incredibly exciting and terrifying, although because of my trademark inability to describe action in anything except very general terms, you're just going to have to take my word for this. It was all happening so fast that I couldn't tell who was winning and who was losing, but as the battle raged on, an alarming thought crept into my mind. I was not playing a central role. I realized that I needed to do something. But what could I do, a mere human, although a highly endearing one? What could I do? And it struck me. I could draw attention to myself. Frantically, I looked around, searching for a sharp object. Suddenly, I saw it lying on the ground, clearly visible in the bright moonlight. A sharp object. I picked it up and stabbed at myself. I was aiming for my arm, but because of my trademark clumsiness, I actually stabbed one of Denise's arms, a piece of which broke off and flew into my right leg, leaving a deep gash. Blood streamed redly down my leg. Suddenly there was a vampire stampede coming my way, at the speed of the vampire, with the werewolves right behind. Vampires came from all directions, their fangs extended to the length of number 3 Phillips screwdrivers. In the crowd, I caught sight of Phil, who had a deep, horrified, concerned look on his face. And even in that moment, knowing that I was definitely going to die in seconds, although obviously I didn't because I'm here narrating this, I remember thinking how good-looking he was and wondered how he got his hair to always stay at exactly that level of tousle. Now they were almost on me, dozens of blood-crazed vampires and enraged werewolves. I knew there was no way I could be saved. I heard Phil shout, "No!" Then I heard a howl of despair from Stuart. Then in the distance I heard the distinctive hydraulic sound of an anguished Zamboni. And then, at the absolute climatic height of the action sequence, everything went dark.